Hey, what's up? June marks my third month here as a creator, and I'd love to go over it with you. Firstly, I have to give God thanks for allowing me to live through another month, and in fact, allow me to live through 3 months on this channel. That's a long time, 90 days. If you told me when I first uploaded that video on a whim because of a Hamza video that I would be still here uploading videos to this day after 3 months, I'd probably struggle to believe you. But here I am. I'm going to continue with the same format that I introduced in May. So I'm going to start off with things that I struggled with throughout June. Firstly, I didn't get any closer to mastering Notion, or at least not in the way that I wanted to. So what I originally planned to do was to watch some Thomas Frank videos so I could learn more niches about Notion to ultimately make my own templates and everything. But that didn't really happen because I didn't make a priority for it. So the way I continued to learn Notion was just organically using the app to do what I actually wanted to do, which isn't a bad thing because it does what I wanted to do. So, no complaints there. The next thing I wasn't able to achieve was uploading that table tennis match for you. So in the previous review video for me, I mentioned that I had a table tennis match with my father. It's actually an hour long in terms of footage that I was supposed to cut down and edit and turn into videos. But once again, I didn't make a priority for it. So obviously it's not going to get done if I don't have a priority for it. And on a more positive note, I'm going to acknowledge the things that I enjoyed in this past month. Firstly, you have working out. I don't know if it's me, but I'm starting to really appreciate how my body looks when I'm exercising. And by extension, how it looks outside of when I'm exercising, especially when I do something like lat raises or anything that engages the traps or shoulders. I don't know. It just looks really, really good. Now, that may be my bias because it's my body after all, but this past week in particular has been really good for me in terms of hitting my workouts. I was actually able to feel some delayed onset muscle soreness in my leg day. So it's great to actually feel that soreness. It's what I use as a reminder to actually remember that, okay, I'm actually tearing the muscle and it's actually rebuilding itself bigger and stronger. The next thing I've enjoyed is driving lessons. Of course, I've mentioned that I'm finally resuming my driving lessons. So and I'm actually doing it in the transmission that I'm supposed to be doing it, which is manual transmission. As of right now, I've only had 2 lessons with 3 more to go until my driving test, which is scheduled for next week. First lesson went really well. I didn't stall or anything, which was good because I did a lot of mental prep before getting into the vehicle. I'm talking about meditating. I'm talking about using affirmations while I'm meditating. I was literally telling myself, you're an expert at manual driving. You know how to change gears smoothly. You know how to not stall the car. I was literally telling myself every second of that meditation on that Thursday morning before the driving lesson. My main takeaway from the first lesson was that everything is controlled by the clutch. You can literally go as slow as you want or go as fast as you want by just using the clutch. So even if you're in a parallel parking space situation, all you have to do is use the clutch to move. You don't need any gas unless you want to go that quickly. But if you're doing a tight maneuver like parallel parking, you don't need so much gas. You can just park. You can just park with just a clutch. The second lesson went just as well. I did more parallel parking lessons as well as 3-point turns and hill starts, and also reversing on a curve. The hill starts were what really took me by surprise because I always saw hill starts as this daunting thing that everybody struggles with in manual driving. But it's actually so crazy that all you need to do is slowly ease off the clutch until the biting point is engaged, and the car will literally roll forward. I practice on a commercial Nissan van, so if that van is able to start on steep Jamaican hills, fine with just a clutch. Any sporty new manual vehicle will handle even better than that. So it was really relieving to know how easy it is to really be controlling manual driving. In fact, the only issues I've been having with my lessons isn't even with the actual clutch control or changing gears. It's actually just normal maneuvering. For example, I have issues with staying aligned in the lane, so I won't be looking in the center of the lane. Instead, I'll be looking to the left or to the right or wherever I see an obstacle. And of course, the more you look at that obstacle, the more you're going to be veering away from it, rather than if you just stayed centered on the lane, you just be driving straight. Speaking of this whole driving situation, it's got me thinking about cars and buying a car, and it may just be the curiosity of a young man, but when you get a license, what's the first thing you think of? Buying your own car. So I've been doing some window shopping, not because I wanted to, get ahead of myself and think about, I'm going to get this car as soon as possible. I just wanted to get an idea of prices, so if a situation ever arose where I would have to get a car, I would have an idea of what I'm looking for, what a good price for the car is, and all those other things. Let's just say I aim to be able to purchase my first car by the end of the year in cash. And last but not least, I'm free from school. That's probably one of the biggest things I've had to enjoy in this month, being free from school. I finished my final exams as a student, and now that I'm a freed man, I have all the time in the world to work on this channel to make better content for you, which is great for you because now you get to see a next chapter of my journey. Next, I'll look over the things I struggled with this month. Just like me, I was very distracted. While the times I've spent on video games have gone down, they're still included, so obviously they're still an issue. However, this past month made me realize that there's more to my distractions than just playing video games. There's also a bunch of micro distractions that will sap away your brain power, for lack of better words. These can be simple things like having a Discord tab open and you see the no notification logo change to a logo with the red one to show that you got a notification. Just the fact that your brain processed that change while you're working on something is enough for you to get attention residue, and it's essentially a task switch because you went from doing whatever you were doing into instead noticing that there's a notification for you to read. And if I'm not worrying over Discord, I'm checking WhatsApp for no reason, honestly, for maybe 30 seconds, but like 30 seconds and all those other micro switches, they add up. They really add up. And by the end of the day, you're going to realize that if you spent those few seconds just intensely focused on what your aim was, you'd have done a lot better on it. So once again, the principle from May's review still applies, that less distractions, more productivity. The next thing I struggled with was a lack of discipline and consistency. And to me, it really just trickled down from the fact that I was so distracted. If I had my priorities set up, and if I was fully focused on what I needed to do, I wouldn't have any distractions, and of course I wouldn't have any problems being disciplined and continuing to show up. Because if you are able to give in to advice as soon as you see it, obviously you're not going to be consistent with whatever you're trying to change. So yeah, that's another thing I have to work on. And last but not least, I struggled very much with my priorities. And the priorities is really what kind of glues everything together. Because if I had my priorities set straight, I would know what's important, what's not important, and to cut out anything that isn't important. When you believe in the priority you put in something, you're going to be doing anything you can to ensure that that important thing gets done. No matter what, nothing's going to distract you from it. And now moving on to what I look forward to in July. Obviously, getting my driver's license. I'm scheduled to have my test sometimes next week. So it's really been a long time. It shouldn't have taken this long, but at least I can see the end of the tunnel right now. Just 3 more lessons, and then I'm essentially home free, because if things continue as they're going right now, I'm going to ace that driving test. In fact, by the time you see my end of July review, I'm convinced one of the first things you're going to see me talk about what I enjoyed in July is going to be driving. Next, I have the hike coming up. I know the hike was supposed to be today, but we had to postpone it because a lot of guys had to cancel last minute. So instead, it's going to be next week, so I'm going to try and get some footage for you. But don't worry, the mountains are not going anywhere. Another thing I look forward to is uploading once a day. Aiming to upload daily through July is going to give me a good challenge, and it's also going to give me an insight of the work ethic I need to obtain to actually achieve the success I want to achieve by the end of this month. Not even by the end of this month, but just as a creator in general, if I want to take YouTube seriously, I need to put in the work and upload. If I can't upload daily for a month as a challenge, I'm not going to achieve what I need to achieve. At least in the time I know I have time, but at the same time, if I'm able to practice the skills I need to achieve the goal, why not practice them earlier rather than later? And last but not least, I also look forward to fixing my priorities. So as I mentioned, I struggled a lot with priorities. So to remedy that, I'm going to be implementing a lesson I got from Hamza, which I'll talk about more on later. It will be impossible for me to achieve most of my goals if I don't set those priorities straight right now. Well, I don't have anything else really distracting me and don't have any school or any major commitments outside of the YouTube channel. So it's now or never for me to get this in now. For me to get this done. And now for some general updates I've been having and just ideas that's been popping up in my head that I wanted to share with you. So I've mentioned that I want to upload 1 video a day throughout July. And I'm not sure how I'm going to do that in terms of what kind of videos I'm going to do. If I'm just going to record a bunch of videos normally and then upload them once a day. Or I was actually thinking of doing a series style thing where I would have basically vlogs in a sense. But I'm not sure how that would work out in terms of recording and then editing and uploading in time for the daily schedule, assuming that it's done how I want the vlog to be done. So I'd have to kind of rethink how I want to do the vlog. But for now, I have a bunch of videos scripted out. I just need to record them. And right now, it's been great for me in terms of my productivity. Today and yesterday, today specifically, I've just been grinding it out. So there's plenty of more to come, for at least for the first 2 weeks, for sure. Recently, I learned something new from Hamza, known as the essential few, which is what I mentioned earlier in things I look forward to. Essentially, no pun intended, you do some reflection and learn about what are the most important areas in your life right now. whether it be work, health and fitness, family, or faith, just to name a few. The more areas you have to focus on is the less productive you're going to be in each of them, because your energy is going to be split in multiple directions. So the least areas you're focusing on, the more productive, the higher output you'll get from them. Now, essentially, when you have all these areas listed out, you do everything possible to work towards them, because they're essentially building this ladder that this ladder that you need to achieve your overall goals. And then if you focus too much on one thing, the ladder is not going to be completed. You may have a bunch of ends on this side of the ladder, but you don't have any steps for you to actually put your foot on, or to hold your, or to grab around with your hands. So for example, in my situation, one of my areas is faith. So a way I commit to that is to ensure that I read my daily Bible lesson and do my morning prayers every day without failure. So that's just the kind of commitment I'm going to be making in terms of prioritizing things in my life. I'll make a separate video on the topic one day so I can explain it in better detail, but it's a great lesson and I'm sure it's going to be really impacting me throughout the summer. I'm also thinking about cutting down on video games. As I mentioned, it's probably the biggest distractor I have in outside of maybe YouTube videos that I know I shouldn't watch, but I still end up watching them sometimes when I'm bored. I've actually uninstalled most of the video games I play recently. Really, all that's left on my computer is multiplayer games that I would play with my friends on Discord, which I know I have to cut out eventually. I know that I need to cut them out. Honestly, it's really and truly up to whenever I can stop being afraid of letting it go and just wholly dedicating my efforts into this channel. As always, there's one thing I want you to take from these kinds of videos. It's to practice these type of month-end reflections. Just write it down somewhere in your journal with at least these 3 headings: things I enjoyed, struggles I had, and what I look forward to. At least those three headings, so you can have your own reflections to look forward to at the end of each month. That's it for June. I hope it went well for you and you're able to achieve the things you wanted to achieve. And if you found any value in this video, remember to subscribe to the channel and watch me get better every month. I wish you the best for July and highly suggest that you do your own monthly reflections. With that being said, remember to always be improving. I'll see you again soon. God bless.